Hey everybody, welcome back to RC with Adam. My name is Adam. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Reptile Cloud-149 HD frame and do a little bit of an unboxing for you and give you some weights and measurements and that sort of stuff. In case you're interested in just getting the frame like I am, which you're going to be seeing in an upcoming build in like the next couple weeks, a CineWhoop build, and so this is what I have this frame for. So let's take this thing out of the box. We get some pads, we get some screws, 2mm EPU 3D printed for the DJI Air unit. And I have no interest in that because I don't have any DJI stuff. I have a strap, some battery pads, stickers, and a little schematic. Here it is. This is what you want to see right here. So here we have, this is the, this one has the red ducts. And let me just make an important note here. So notice that this is the Cloud-149 HD. The HD is the one that you want because the HD has the swappable frames. Let me zoom in here a little bit. The HD has the swappable frame, swappable arms, so that way if you crash and the arms are a little bit more durable, we're going to look at that. But just keep that in mind. So some people call it the V2, but I looked all over to try and find the Cloud-149 V2 frame, and it doesn't really exist because the V2 is called the HD version. So just keep that in mind. So here we have a duct. It looks very ducty. It has a nice swoop on the lip. Not too bad. It has two mounting points on this side and one on that side. That's going to be the end of the arm. And it seems fairly flexible, but I could see how it could kind of, crack in a crash. This version does not have the foam. That's not like standard with the kit. So the new ready to fly version has the foam that encompasses two of the ducts. You can buy that separately as like it comes with the ducts, I think, or maybe you can just buy the foam by itself. But I decided not to because, well, one, I couldn't get it shipped from a U.S. warehouse, and I did buy this one from Banggood, but I would look at some other places like Race Day Quads if they have it in stock. Check the description below for links to where you can buy this. But in any case, I'm just going to put some foam on the front of the ducts there. So you get 4 ducts. They are identical, I believe. And then voila, here's the actual frame. Let's get this thing out of the way. This is a 3-inch frame, or a frame that is intended for 3-inch propellers. And actually, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, here is a 3-inch propeller. This is a dowel prop, like a Cyclone. And that is what that looks like right on the arm there, if we center that up. So yeah, you could maybe do like 3.5 if you didn't have the ducts, but I don't know why you would, but just to let you know. And then also, if you did want to do something like which I'm thinking about this actually, but if you wanted to like invert the frame and have the motors on the top, you'd have a lot more space. Like you could probably run, well, maybe not a 5-inch propeller, but you could run probably a 4-inch propeller if you didn't have the ducts. But again, I don't know why you'd want to do that. Also, for reference, this is what a 5-inch propeller looks like on here. So quite a difference. And again, for reference, here is my budget basher, which is just kind of a generic style freestyle quadcopter. And this has I believe it's a 210 size frame, and it's an X configuration, and you can see how much smaller the Cloud-149 frame is. Quite a bit smaller. You can also notice the low profile of the Cloud frame. I like that, the slim style. It is very tall though. I'm not crazy about the tallness. Perhaps it needs to be tall to fit the DJI Air unit. I don't know, but it is quite tall here. Very tall. We have, and these standoffs are kind of different sizes, just in case you need to replace them, because these standoffs actually sit on top of the arm right there. And speaking of the arms, these are replaceable arms, which is really great because I was thinking about getting the other version of this frame, the original version. But I should mention, I saw the reviews. The reason why I got this frame was because I saw Justin Davis's review on this. He was saying how this frame is much better because it's much stronger on the ends. It doesn't have that dumb cutout on the middle of the end of the arm. And you can replace the arms. The arms are there's like two arms are kind of one piece for two arms, which is kind of nice because it saves some weight. I think in that way. Speaking of weight, let's weigh this before we get any farther, and let's turn on our scale and make sure this is zeroed out. And so just dry weight, just the frame. Well, with this little TPU antenna mount on the back, it weighs 67 grams. And then with the ducts, 113 grams with all of the ducts. And, add a battery strap. Wow, that's actually a pretty heavy battery strap. So it looks like about 116-ish. And then if we toss on the DJI Air unit pieces, we get 123 grams. That is pretty hefty. But, these CineWhoops, they're not really intended to be lightweight little things. They're intended to have basically just enough power to reliably fly a GoPro around. And so that would be mounted on the top here. And I'm going to print a mount, possibly a custom mount, but you can buy GoPro mounts on here as well, but it does not come in this kit. And also, speaking of mounting, the camera mounting is, look at this, it's very, very slim up here. Very slim, low profile look. And this is just 19 millimeters. I mean, it just fits a 19 millimeter camera in there. So you can see we have the little cutouts like that. And I'm kind of not a fan of, like, it's fine that they included these. It seemed like pretty solid little plates for mounting the camera on either side. But what I would like to do, I'm thinking, is possibly add some 3D printed camera mounts, and then I can get shorter standoffs so that because I don't need, this is a ridiculous amount of space here. And of course, as far as mounting the ducts, we have 2 millimeter holes for the duct mounts, and they're going to mount two on the inboard side of the arm and one on the outboard side. Let's just go ahead and put these ducts on here, do a little test fit to see what that looks like. Also, it is worth noting that the ducts do have metal inserts for the threading, so that's kind of nice. It's not just, you're not just screwing directly into the plastic, and it seems pretty well supported and attached to the rest of the duct itself. So on the quality on the ducts, it seems pretty good. There you go, and that is what it looks like with the rings on here. I will say I like the design of the frame. Like I like how it gets narrow towards the front, but I feel like not too narrow. I do think it would be very difficult to access a USB port on the side of a flight controller, but I think there might be some neat little tricks that you could do to make that easier, or possibly through the back as well. Maybe, depending on how that was mounted. I'm thinking maybe if you could get like a stick, or not a stick, but some way of actually, some tool to hold the USB cable, that might work well. You don't have a whole lot of room, and then if you do buy the one with the foam, if you put the foam around these, that's going to fill up this area, and I think a lot of this area as well. So you definitely won't have much room to move around. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think having the foam around it probably would be ideal. So I may end up purchasing that extra piece of foam, or maybe just making one, maybe just cutting it out, so that way it's like one integral piece of foam connecting all these, because then that way it kind of really I feel like distributes any impacts, and certainly makes everything more durable. As far as these cracking or anything, I'm thinking possibly, I'm going to put some foam definitely on the front here, and then I'm going to possibly put a piece of packing tape around the ducts, I'm thinking, because, you know, I mean, like, you might not need foam in the back, unless, you know, I mean, if you crash, you might end up hitting the back, but as far as crashing into stuff flying forward, you're going to hit the front first. But then to avoid any kind of cracking, putting packing tape on there, I think, would significantly increase the durability of that for sure. Although I'm not quite sure of how durable these are. Maybe they're very durable. I don't know yet. We're going to find out in about a couple weeks, though. It's also, let's see, motor post to motor post. It is 150, 149, 150. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, 1 millimeter. But, you know, it is called the 149 because it is 149 motor post to motor post. That's the idea. And as far as mounting the flight controller, looks like we have 30 by 30 mount hole spacing right here, and that's side to side diagonally, basically about 142. And then we also have a 20 by 20, looks like 20 by 20 spacing in the middle, 3 millimeter holes for the 30 by 30 spacing, and 2 millimeter holes for the 20 by 20 stack spacing. We also have 20 by 20 spacing in the back as well, and that's it. There aren't any other spacing options. So what I'm going to do, just a little FYI, I'm using this 4-in-1 board. This is the JHEMCU 4-in-1 board, and so I'm going to be making a 3D printed adapter, and so it's going to look something like this, or possibly like this. And stay tuned. I'll have these files available for you to download very soon once I get the design worked out just right. So that's all you have for the mounting. The DJI Air unit mounts, and I'm not really familiar with the Air unit because I haven't used it, but it looks like it would mount on these standoffs. The motor mounting distance, right about 12 millimeters across, and then side to side, just in case you're interested, it looks like about 8.4-ish. The hole in the middle for the shaft split ring, or whatever it is, it looks like right about 5 millimeters. And the arms are 3 millimeters thick. At the end, they're about 6 millimeters wide, but they do get thicker. So towards the actual mounting point, looks like about 8.9 millimeters, just in case you're wondering. The bottom plate is 2 millimeters thick, also 2 millimeters thick for the top and bottom plates. Again, let's just get a measurement from the very top frame and the very bottom frame. It is 39 millimeters, and the thickness of the duct material, well, you know what, it's hard to tell because there's this little ridge. There's a little ridge, so the ridge is like 1.5 millimeters, 1.6 maybe. It's kind of hard to tell, but it gets a little thinner, so I'm thinking probably closer to 1.5 millimeters is the thickness there. And for the duct, the actual diameter, the inside diameter of the duct, looks to be about 78 millimeters. Oh, another thing that I need to measure here for you, because maybe you're trying to make a GoPro mount and you're not sure what the mounting size is. So let's go from the front. So the very front screw, the distance across, the width looks like right about 20 millimeters. The rear screws looks a little bit wider, right about 22 millimeters. The long distance between the front and the back screws looks to be about 142 or 42 millimeters ish, maybe 43. And then let's just be thorough and get the rest of these as well. So for the middle screws, in case you want to mount something on here, and this will also be, you know, all these measurements are also for the standoffs as well, in case you want to mount around the standoffs. So we have 62.3 millimeters lengthwise, front to back. The back middle, I should say, also 22 millimeters. And let's take a look at the back, and we have 15. It looks like 15 millimeters. Well, 15.7 perhaps. Again, it's hard to kind of eyeball this with the calipers, but about 15.7 millimeters across from the back middle to the to the rearmost or the aftmost screws, about 42. But of course we do have a little bit more of a sort of pointedness here. Also, in case you're designing ducts for this thing, let's get the duct hole spacing. I'm trying to go from the center of each hole, so 15 millimeters. And let's see, diagonally from the inboard hole, from one of the inboard holes to the outboard hole, I'd say about 79 millimeters from hole to hole there. And I think that's, so I think you basically just have like a triangle with 15 on this side, and then each side would be 79 millimeters. So that's good to know for mounting, the mounting purposes, and the ducts across here, because we need to know if you're going to build your own version of the duct, you need to know how far in you can go before you hit the frame. Well, it looks like there's a little bit of spacing here between the frame there. Pretty good bit of spacing. Right here is where you're going to hit first. So probably it looks like there's about, I would guess, 2 millimeters of space that you could have there. Going to be 90 millimeters. All right, and here's a close-up of the 3D printed TPU. Feels like TPU. It's kind of squishy. Antenna mount. It just kind of slides at the top there, and it looks like kind of like a 45-degree angle up this way, and kind of coming out a little bit of an angle on that side as well. And that is what that looks like. And just to be thorough, the standoffs are, it seems like they're about 5 millimeters. About 5.2 millimeters in diameter. And that is the smaller part of the standoff. The knurled part on the ends appear to be about 6 millimeters in diameter. And here's a close-up look at the DJI Air Unit 3D printed adapter thing here. Again, it seems to be printed out of TPU. It is flexible. I'm sure there's probably files for this already on Thingiverse, but here's a close-up of these just in case you're interested. It seems like pretty good quality. Yeah, they turned out pretty good. Turned out quite nice. They have little arrows on there. You see the little arrows? That's saying up and then saying forward, I guess. So interesting. Also, here are the specs in case you are interested in those, some of the recommended specs there that they have. And then, of course, the schematic right here, which is kind of nice. They don't show, or at least I don't see where those shorter M2 screws would go, but I'm thinking that would be for the camera probably. And another thing worth noting, the 3-inch CineWhoop frames, and this one, and I think some are larger, especially with the foam around the edge. They are actually kind of approaching a 5-inch quadcopter frame size. This one is, like I said, this freestyle frame is I believe it's a 210 wheelbase, and it is kind of, I think it's a true X. I'm pretty sure it's a true X. And so this one is, the motors are just sticking out past the ducts, and now, I mean, in terms of like just the motors, yeah, but when you have these 5-inch propellers sticking out another 2.5 inches, then it definitely, the 5-inch frame quadcopter definitely is much larger, but aside from the propellers, it's actually kind of approaching that similar size, but it is, overall, it's much more compact, which I like. Well, there you go, folks. That is the Reptile Cloud-149 HD frame. Hopefully this was helpful in case you're thinking about getting this frame. From what I can tell, it appears to be pretty good quality. Obviously, it's on the budget side, but pretty good quality. We'll see how the durability holds up, and stay tuned for that because I will be putting a bunch of electronics, motors, this all-in-one flight controller, all kinds of stuff in here, and I'll be bringing you through the build process. So be sure to stay tuned for that in the next few videos coming out. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. If you have questions about this, leave them in the comments below, and maybe I or someone else will be able to help you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again very soon.